In every society, it is the state which determines the objective moral standard. The reason being is that, in accordance to the naturalistic worldview, there is no higher power above that of the state. It is the state which holds the monopoly on violence, thus it is the state that has the authority and the power to enforce a standard of morality. The morals held by the state is the closest thing to an objective morality that the naturalistic worldview can ever produce, although different states will differ on the matter of what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, where there is anarchy and there is a lack of a state, there is no moral arbitrator except the individual. The individual themselves determines what is right or wrong, because there is no one true and objective standard of morality. Morality as a concept does not exist. Morals are simply based on the whims and opinions of other people. To shank, to violate, to pillage, and to plunder. There is no saying in anarchy what is right or what is wrong. Full disclosure here before we continue, you will notice in the title of this video that I have not branded Hell's Paradise as a Christian anime. The reason being is that there are a few scenes in this which have made me feel uncomfortable, and it would be inappropriate for me to recommend this anime to you. There are still Christian values which we can extract from Hell's Paradise, the love that one has for their wife, the desire for justice to be enacted, and of course the treatment of morality which we'll discuss today. There's plenty to praise about this anime too, from the beautiful artwork coupled with a soundtrack which assists in building up this world. Though again, there are scenes which make me feel uncomfortable to recommend this to you. I am fully aware of the platform that I have, and I certainly don't want to cause people to stumble because of an anime recommendation which I have made. Furthermore, I also can't really recommend this to you from a proper review perspective, because while I think the end goal for Gabimaru is quite noble, the story has become a bit dull to me. Yes, I have dropped this anime and won't be watching it to completion, though so as not to waste the time I've spent watching Hell's Paradise, let's examine instead how this anime treats the notion of morality and how this may strengthen our Christian faith. As I posited in the first part of the video, there is some real sense in which morality exists. Morality only is as real as states, or in the lack of a state, as individuals see it. If an individual has a belief in a standard of morality, let's call it standard A, then it is real for the individual, though it is only for the individual and the individual alone. There will be others who differ from standard A, perhaps subscribing to standard B instead. Standard A loses its legitimacy. If a larger group of individuals subscribe to standard B, then in a sense, standard B is the standard of morality which is real. That is likely the sentiment that many of the death row criminals feel. Chobei is one such case where he has a very interesting monologue in regards to the issue of morality, where he curses society, where he curses the shogun, and asserts that he will defy the will of the shogun and forge a new destiny for himself. He recognizes that if he gains power, he has the ability to shape the social constructs around him. The shogun is the one who currently holds the monopoly on power. He is the one in control of the state and thus in control of the military. This is how a small minority of the population, the governing class, can influence what the standard of morality is. It is this small minority of the population which also has the military, the intelligence agencies, the police force, and the court system on their side. This is the reason why there's so much power in the shogunate's pardon and a promise of protection. The shogun has the power to actually enforce this order, though for Chobei, he has recognized that there is one way to become even more powerful than the state. That is, of course, to steal the elixir of life for himself and gain ultimate power.
Do you think there's a sense in which you can say either side is right in that conflict? I mean, imagining, for example, some version of World War II where the fighting was based on some fundamental value conflict about what you're allowed to do to other human beings. Violent conflict. Is there a sense in which we can say that one side is correct there? Or do we just have to say that what we're witnessing is might makes right?
I feel like to say one side is correct, I feel like you would have to be able to ultimately resolve some moral statement down to some truth value. There would have to be some moral facts to speak of, and I'm kind of cocked. I don't really believe in stuff like that. So I wouldn't be able to say at the end of the day that like it's right to not want to enslave somebody or it's right to not want to murder somebody. I don't know if I believe that any of those moral statements ultimately reduce to some fact of the matter. So no, I don't know if I could ever say there's a right or wrong side in any given conflict like that. There's just the values that I purport to have, and hopefully other people around me have them. And if some people are so incompatible and we can't find common grounds on it, then at some point it's probably going to come to some sort of violent conflict to resolve the difference.
I've just played that clip because it's so true. The standards of morality that we have aren't based on any factual reality. The reason why we have a standard of morality is because the state enforces and actively supports such a standard. This also means there's not really such a thing as objective morality, because if morality changes depending on who is in control of the state, then it's not really an objective standard if it constantly changes. There is no real sense in which morality exists. All we've got to hope for is that the people who are in power are the ones who agree with our own standard of morality. Oh, so what do Christians say about this? So all of that preamble is based on the assumption that the naturalistic worldview is true, that being that there are no supernatural forces and it's only material reality that matters. So if it's only material reality that matters, then it's those who have the power, such as the state, that get to determine what the standard of morality is. Though in the Christian worldview, we do get God. God, by definition, is all-powerful, which fits one of the first prerequisites in establishing a standard of morality. He has set a standard of morality, and on Judgment Day, we get to stand before God and make an account of all our life. And for God, the one who has all the power, to decide whether we are deserving of being in relationship with him for the rest of eternity or deserving of eternal punishment. Though the second prerequisite that God also fits is that he is unchanging. God's standard of morality is true and has stayed true, the same for all of time. Hence, it is under the scenario where God exists, which is the only scenario in which an objective morality can exist. If there were no God, then there is no objective morality, which we as Christians should take comfort in. We don't have to live in fear of the Tencent, who have a completely abhorrent view of morality, though we may have been forced to follow them because we as mortals lack power. We don't have to live in fear of the shogunate or any government system which may change leadership at any time, destroying any previous notions of morality which may have been originally held. We ourselves are not being pressured to gain power in order to legitimize the standard of morality that we desire to enforce. Instead, we as Christians can live in peace under a good, righteous, and just God who judges rightly, a God who loves us, a God who has died for us, for our sins, to live in service to a God who has been so gracious and kind to us. That is the privilege that we as Christians get to enjoy. It is a privilege that we should not take for granted. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. I do have plenty of other videos that you can watch about Christian anime. There's a playlist here. You can go watch it, and they're like actual recommendations of anime that you can watch. So yeah.